Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Paj. As I believe it, all of us are called to receive and to give. As a medical professional, I often see metaphors in the physical bodies that illuminate things in the body of Christ. As part of my giving, I write, endeavor to be clear and concise. Here, I will share things I've learned as a husband, father, pastor, and physician assistant. I hope that something I say will improve your journey. Ischemia Part II. In this episode, we continue the teachings on ischemia. I again remind you that ischemia means a resistance to blood flow. There are many factors that reduce blood flow, and I am discussing this as an allegory of the physical and spiritual loss of flow. For the loss of necessary blood flow is necrotic. What is necrotic? Pertaining to a corpse or death. Low blood flow is dangerous. In Part 2, we will review arteriosclerosis and atherosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis, artery stiffness. Sclerosis comes from sclerone, harden. Arteriosclerosis is when the arteries harden, typically in old age. Oxford Dictionary. Arteriosclerosis is hardening of the arteries. This sclerone can, in moments of greater need, cause ischemia. This hardening of the arteries is due to the arteries becoming thickened and inflexible. Often, this is due to age, smoking, or long-term high blood pressure. The chemical impact of smoking or long-lasting periods of high pressure causes the tunica media, or the middle sheath of the artery's walls, to thicken over time. They have stretched and relaxed thousands of times as they have been challenged by the persisting rigors of life. My attitude hardens when I think of the challenge as disrespect. I become obstinate when I do not get to, nor allow myself to relax. How can I relax when I interpret those moments of challenging stretch as offending? Oh yes, my heart hardens when I see my flexing as inconvenient or harmful. I become inflexible when I think of the adaptation needed in that moment of challenge as a cruel abuse of my divinely directed goodness or gentleness. My heart's reluctance constrains the flow within me and through me. Ischemia. But the divinely directed moments of gentleness are supposed to be a part of me. His guided moments of yielding are when I am truly being like Him. He flexes when dealing with my insecurities, hesitancies, and many negative tendencies. His flexibility allows Him to maintain connection with me. In the same manner, my flexibility allows me to maintain connection with those who rely upon or briefly need me. Yes, there must be a boundary. There are limits upon how much stretching I can do. But the calling of my life is not always consistent with my moods, feelings, or timing. There are needs beyond me that will not be met if I stiffen and constrict His flow through me, because at that moment, it's not convenient for me. Atherosclerosis. Vascular fatty obstruction. Athero means plaque or fatty substance. Remember, sclerosis is from sclerone or harden. Atherosclerosis is when a fatty plaque infuses into and against the walls of the artery. This buildup thickens the walls and slowly clogs up the lumen or passageway, gradually blocking the flow. Vascular fatty obstruction, atherosclerosis, causes ischemia. Now this is where things get really interesting. In the common teaching regarding fatty buildup in the arteries, the teaching is that the intake of dietary fat becomes too high in the blood and this plugs up the blood vessel. They blame eating fatty foods as the cause of atherosclerosis. The problem with that is the studies that came to these conclusions were highly paid for by the sugar industry. Read the book, The Case Against Sugar by Gary Taubes. More objective studies are indicating that the fat is not the problem, the sugar is. The sugar we eat too much of is actually damaging the cholesterol. It is the damaged, non-reabsorbable cholesterol that is remaining in the blood and slowly penetrating the walls of the blood vessels and causing the blockage. So again, cholesterol is not the problem. It is the sugar-coated or glycated and oxidized cholesterol that is the problem. This brings us to a remarkable observation. Genesis 45:18. And take your father and your households, and come unto me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land. It seems that verse is indicating fat is a reward, not a toxin. Remember, some have described fat as a poison. I believe, like many other things in life, the rewards can be contaminated by our addictions. Many in church circles are addicted to and are slowly being poisoned by the sugars hiding in plain sight. We are being told to avoid the fat of the land when the reward is not the problem. The problem is that which we've become addicted to. Is sugar poisoning you? Closing. Blood is a very complex substance, and as we are out of time, we will take just a very brief look at only two aspects of blood now, and more thoroughly review others in the future. Two of the impacts of blood that allows life to continue are removal of waste and the delivery of oxygen. Did you know waste removal has priority? Activity makes you breathe faster due to waste accumulation. The metaphor for waste removal is grace. Grace cleanses. It removes toxins. Think on that for a moment. Last point of today. The delivery of oxygen allows function to continue. Truth is oxygen. Truth instructs and allows collaboration. The knowledge and guidance of truth fuels function. So let's review. External constrictions. We must protect ourselves from the toxic disruptions of these ischemias. We must be aware of our interactions with our external constrictions, while not allowing the challenge of those limitations to drive us into auto-ischemic or self-destructive reactions. Vasoconstriction. We must be wary of our SARS. We must edit the things we say, accept, and repeat. May our words increase, not restrain, the internal flow of grace and truth. May our words inhibit our ACEs, our adverse childhood experiences. Arteriosclerosis, or artery stiffness. May we not allow the pressures to stiffen or harden our hearts and cause our lives to be limiting the flow of grace and truth to ourselves and to those who do and or will one day rely upon us. And lastly, atherosclerosis, fatty obstruction. We are to enjoy the blessings of God, yet not contaminate them with greedy consumption of toxins. Poisoning our blessings with bad habits will damage our heart and cause ischemia to our most important body part. May we limit the toxic sugars in our lives and not allow them to poison our rewards or our fat of the land. God bless. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Please like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions below.